Welcome back, GPS to God. We are glad you are with us. We are rocking and rolling already. We decided to hit record and let you in on the action. Daniel Sanders, Stefano Patterson, Ryan Gotro, and Zach Edson back with us again. Reach out to us. You can email us, mailroom@gpstogod.com. Check out the website, gpstogod.com, or look us up on Instagram. We want to hear from you. And if you've been following along, you know where we are. The book of Job, still there, next to last episode.
Is that a guarantee? You going out on a limb?
Yes. And I'm glad it's here, but it's going to be a little sad when it's gone. But
it's been good.
It's been good.
It has.
Today is a bit of a change in what's going on in the book here, but it's been a lot of fun. Had several people come in and contribute and different voices, all that kind of stuff. We enjoyed every one of them. Zach's been here most of the ride, though, probably.
Yeah.
That's just
half of them.
Yeah.
He's had the most.
I'd say just because y'all have cancellations.
Oh, let me tell you, strikeouts have been aplenty, left, right, and center by many people. So happened even to Zach was not choice number one tonight. He is coming in as a savior here.
Called off the bench.
Yeah. So, but glad to have you number one in our hearts.
Oh,
Indeed. Always.
Without a doubt.
Always.
I appreciate that.
But tonight, episode number 8, we have Elihu. We're going to get into that in a minute because, like we teased last week, I have some questions. But we have Elihu, his story tonight. Next week, we hear from God himself to wrap it all up. And then, we don't know. I'm going to leave that hanging right there, that big matzo ball. Just
I guess that's where you can say, send us an email about what you want to hear.
Yeah, by the time you get it, we'd probably be too late. But we do have some things working, just not confirmed yet. We might just have to talk about NBA playoffs and NFL draft and who's crying, who's happy. NHL is going on.
Playoffs as well, so it's a lot.
Yeah, lots going on.
I can't add much to that conversation.
Yeah.
I've been out of the NHL playoffs since about, I don't know, October when the Predators were out of it.
All I want to know is how many fights happened.
But I think it has been exciting in the NHL playoffs.
Yeah. I just know what's going on because I just see it in between basketball and draft stuff. It's
the filler.
It kind of comes in.
It's the commercials of ESPN.
Hey, don't forget about hockey. Back to you at the NFL draft.
That's right.
Speaking of forgetting someone, we did not forget this person because he was not mentioned anywhere else in the book until chapter 32 in the book of Job.
Lots of questions.
That is Elihu.
Or is it Elihu?
I'm going with Eli. Who?
Who?
Yeah.
I'm going to say he's wrong, but
I did pull a Ryan, and I pulled up the old Bible app earlier today and listened to it. And
only way to do it.
You made fun of Ryan for going to that Bible app and getting that.
I know.
he was going to Wikipedia the week I was here.
It was correct.
Was correct.
No one switched it just yet.
Was correct.
I got it early.
What was funny was he gave a pronunciation of Ophir, the city where the gold came from. The very next week, we had that name come up again, and we both said it wrong.
We both said it wrong. You can see how much we paid attention.
Yeah. I said, how was it pronounced, Ryan? Ophir? And he said, yep, that's it. So we couldn't even make it 1 week with that. Ophir, because, we had the comment, and then we had the throwing in the dash.
The dash.
Yep.
When you spell it. So
Yes.
But we are in the book of Job, chapter 32, and a new person has shown up.
So we don't talk about Zophar?
Zophar is
Man.
gone.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's out.
Zophar is silent. Zophar is silent.
So far, so gone.
He said,
We've had lots of chapters here of Job and Zophar, Bildad, and Elihu? No. Elihu is today. Eliphaz.
There we go, Eliphaz.
They've been going back and forth, debating each other. Then Job went on a big rant our last episode for a few chapters there. The words of Job ended. And now a new guy shows up. And we teased it lots of questions because a new guy showed up that we haven't heard about. And I got a couple notes. But let's start with the questions. where did Elihu come from?
He was hiding under the couch.
I don't know where he came from, but this dude. Let's read the first couple.
And my thing says he appears from nowhere, just out of nowhere.
Yes. I mean, was he? I mean, we're going to go on the questions now.
I'm going to read the first maybe 4 or 5 verses.
I got a ton,
and then we're going to
conspiracy theories and everything. I got.
We're going to come with a bunch of questions that we do not have answers to, but we're going to talk about it.
That email is going to be blowing up.
It is. We need some answers.
I got a comment about email too that I get. Well, might as well do it now because I'll forget if I don't. But got an email. I don't know, 6 weeks ago maybe. Now it's been a while. From Mr. Zach Edson himself.
So you just remembering it?
Yes.
That's how often he checks it right there.
No, because this was kind of a part 1 email of, I thought, more parts. Emailed mailroom@gpstoguide.com. I check it. Something about M&Ms. Like he emailed, I replied him back. Something about some M&M flavor. You were going to check on it. Never happened.
Nothing.
Well, my question was going to be is, how many times have you been on here since you sent it?
A lot.
But you didn't say that you responded, so I was like, all right, I'm waiting for you to be like, dude, you haven't even said nothing to me?
I DM'd him on the Instagram.
I kept waiting for a bag of M&Ms to show up. It hasn't happened.
Nothing. Was it revolving around your favorite?
No, I can't remember. I'll send you the
A
email
flavor of
tomorrow.
a flavor of M&M?
Flavor of
It's
M&M.
chocolate.
No,
That,
but
or
they
unless
can
you're
be
talking about
stuffed.
like
They
the
could be-
pretzels and the
Yeah.
peanut butter. You're talking about that. Okay.
got
They're like the red ones are like
No.
There were some
it's chocolate. That's
some
it.
mention of M&Ms that got forgot about. So we'll check it out. Back to Job. All right. So Elihu, we are in the book of Job, chapter 32. Elihu shows up. Let's read the first few verses here. So these 3 men ceased to answer. He's talking about Bildad, Zophar, and Eliphaz. These 3 men ceased to answer Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then Elihu, the son of, now this one I didn't pay attention to, Barachel, the Buzite of the family of Ram, burned with anger. He burned with anger at Job because he justified himself rather than God. He burned with anger also at Job's 3 friends because they found no answer, although they had declared to Job, or they had declared Job to be in the wrong. I underlined a lot of these, so that's messing with the my reading. That's my excuse. Job found to be in the wrong. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because they were older than he. And when Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these 3 men, he burned with anger. And then Elihu starts speaking. All right. So there's kind of the setting the table. Now let's get into it a little bit. Going back, the end of chapter 31, Job is on his rant. He goes through all the stuff he goes through. If you want to know what he goes through, go back and watch episode 7 on this topic because we broke it down. And then it ends, chapter 31 does, with the words of Job are ended. Then we go straight into chapter 32, and Elihu shows up.
Just appears.
Where did this dude come from?
I'm not going to lie. I went back to chapter 31, I think twice in the last 3 days trying to figure out, there was something that I missed that shows that he's like, he came in and just started listening to the end of the conversations or something. Nothing's there. I can't,
I reread
Nothing.
1 through 31.
Final went back through the whole
He said I
thing.
went back the whole thing.
He wanted to make
man.
sure.
Just to see if there was some kind of
whole
sneak.
thing.
No.
Which
32 to 37. It's the only place he's mentioned.
it appears he was there the whole time.
He would
because
have
it-
to be, though, because the way
because
how he
it's-
talks about
He
the
didn't
three
wanna
the
speak.
three others.
Yeah.
I don't
He
know
knows what
that
they
he's there
said.
the whole time, though. He could have shown up.
I mean, you're right.
Oh, so we talked last week. We didn't know how long Job and his 3
Right.
friends talked. It could have been months that this was going on.
Yeah.
We don't really know. But at the beginning, if you go back to the beginning, it doesn't say any more people are there. So this is, let's go, chapter 2, verse 11. Well, if you back up to like verse number 9, it's when Job's wife is talking bad about you. Satan has come.
Right.
hit him with all the bad stuff on his body. His wife is said, "Why are you holding to your integrity? Curse God and die." Chapter 2, verse 11. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came each from his own place. Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar. They made an appointment together to come show him sympathy and comfort him. They saw him from a distance, did not recognize him. They raised their voices, wept, heads down, sat with him on the ground 7 days and nights. Nobody spoke a word, for they saw his suffering was great. So these 3 dudes show up by themselves. Right after that, chapter 3, Job starts talking. That kicks off the conversation between him. And then it's just straight conversation from chapter 3 all the way through chapter 31.
Which makes me
these
believe
4 people.
that he had to be there to then be able to quote, all of these instances. But it doesn't say that.
I agree.
Well, to kind of go with what you're... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Because it says that he's mad because they never refuted him. Mm-hmm. So for him to be mad that they never refuted him, he had to be there the entire time to hear their entire story and claim
I don't know
about that.
Well,
so I agree with.
Well, in every chapter, like I've got like a breakdown of, so like we'll get to this, but like the first one, 32 through 33, he talks about how Job was self-righteous and then, God disciplined such, again, that half-truth type deal. And it's like, well, he had to hear that. He had to be that because these other 3 didn't tell him.
Right.
I just don't know. I don't know how long these Fantasyland, I think is what we called it last episode. We're going to go in Fantasyland, make up some stuff here. Let's say it's 3 months that these conversations are going on. Maybe he missed the first month, Elihu, and he heard 2 months of the conversation. Still a lot of stuff being said over that period, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. All I know is the introduction just gives the 3 friends. It does. Mm-hmm. Maybe they came from the east and Elihu came from the west. Who knows? I don't know. We also talked earlier on an earlier episode, where did these conversations take place? Were they out in Job's front yard in the ash pit and the wife peeking out the window kind of thing? Or are they in the middle of town square? And there were chapters where Job is saying, strangers now walk past me and strike me on the cheek and this kind of stuff. So maybe some of these conversations take place in a more public place and not on his back porch. I don't know. But all I know is it seems like Elihu just parachuted in from nowhere and it's like, let me get down on some of this.
But if he did, how would he be able to reference?
Yes.
He wouldn't have a history of
No, he was there for some period of time. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Because he goes to give some example. I mean, he said, one of the notes I have here is in those first couple of verses, Elihu is hot because it says he's angry 4 times in verses 2 through 5.
When the Bible repeats a word, it's important.
He's angry. he's angry at Job because Job justified himself over God. He's angry at the 3 friends because they had no answer, and they declared Job to be in the wrong, so they accused him with no proof, basically. He was burned with anger when he saw that they had no answer, and angry 4 times. It says he's angry 4 times in verses 2 through 5. That dude was mad.
Seemed a little hot.
Yeah.
Plus, not to jump ahead, but like verse 32:11 says, "Look, I waited for your conclusions. I listened to your insights as you sought for words. I paid close attention to you, yet no one proved Job wrong."
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it doesn't say that he was there the whole time, but it kind of makes it appear. So then part 2 of all this, if he was there the whole time, it makes me wonder who else was there the whole time that was just sitting there that didn't talk. That makes me kind of think that maybe there's a possibility that it wasn't just the 4 of them.
Yeah.
Because if this dude arrives and says that he waited patiently for everybody else to talk, who else might have, I don't know,
been around.
But
I think when you get to 34, that's going to be my argument of like he addresses the friends, right? And like,
Right.
And you guys said, how
Right.
would he have known this if he wasn't there, right? So,
Right.
but the time is something, Daniel, that we don't
is.
know. Like, is he catching
Very true.
half the speech and riding in?
Right. Yeah. He's pretty hot to catch half of it.
The other time, he is. The other time he's angry, to finish that thought, is just at the beginning. It just says he was angry. So Elihu was angry. When it gives his lineage, and he says he's from the family of Ram, verse number 2, and he burned with anger. So he's just mad to start. And then here's 3 reasons why he's mad. But he was hot.
Yeah.
A little hot
Which I
under
guess
the
you
collar.
could. I mean, if he had waited that long, if say he
I
was
waited
there
4
that long,
months talk, and now it's my
I guess
turn.
he would be upset if he didn't get a chance. I mean,
he'd
depending
already
on how
sat-
long it was, I guess.
Because he sat there for 7 days in silence with these guys. Y'all didn't say nothing. And then y'all went back and
Right.
forth. And now it's my turn. I've
Right.
waited this long.
Or even if he came in the middle of it, they still didn't give him for 31 chapters. They never gave him a chance to say anything.
Just imagine.
So
I mean,
I don't.
if this is true, like you already read, he did not speak because he was the young guy.
Right.
This is
Out of
verse
respect,
6.
possibly.
Yeah, he's being respectful. I am young in
Well,
this
over
is
respectful, but
Elihu speaking. I am young in years, and you are aged. Therefore, I was timid and afraid to declare my opinion to you. I said, "Let days speak, and my years teach wisdom." But imagine he is sitting there, and he's listening to both sides go back and forth, and he's like, "That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong." And he has truth. He knows the answer, or he thinks he does. And,
yeah.
and he's just, I can't believe. And as a young guy too, he's like, this dude's twice as old as I am, and he doesn't know what he's talking about.
right.
So I mean, yeah, just getting more and more mad because
Right.
these guys are talking crazy over here.
Is that what it feels like, Ron?
Every day. Every day.
Something like that.
All y'all grandpas over here, and I'm just listening.
Whoa,
y'all
whoa,
grandpas.
whoa.
Oh man.
I
That's
take it
tough.
all day long from
That is
y'all. I
tough.
can dish it a little bit right now.
That's
Calm
tough.
down.
I'm usually on your side, Ryan. Usually on your
Just be
side.
accurate. Ain't nobody in here, grandfather.
I was on
Not
your
yet.
side in a group text the other day.
True that. That was one of like 17. That's probably more than 17, but let's just be honest.
I think anyone outside this room would classify us all in the same age group.
I don't think so.
No, I think so.
I don't think so.
If they're not in their 30s or 40s,
That's
they're
2
lumping,
categories right there.
they're lumping us together. Anybody 29 and under is lumping us together. Anyone 50 and over is lumping us together.
I agree with you on that. I think so.
I think there's a separation.
We separate it, but outside of our age range,
Yeah.
I think-
Because they're going to look at our
I
kids.
think Ty would separate like Zach from like me.
and Ty is 29 and under.
Okay, but he would still have 2.
Oh, you're saying he would separate
He
you
would
two.
separate the 2.
I don't know. We'd have to ask him.
Call him in. He'll bring in a bag of candy any minute.
He's next door.
Are you sure?
Not for you.
Or maybe Ty,
See,
or just somebody
18.
within that bracket. Like,
You're saying that
I
you
don't
think
know.
you stand a better chance of that if they don't know us? Because immediately they're going to look at our kids
Very
and say,
true.
they
Very
lump
true.
us there.
Very true. So yeah, if they don't know,
We
it's
should just ask
possibly.
people from
And
next door just randomly
look
come in.
Younger
If
than
they
your
don't.
age.
Well,
100%.
I appreciate it.
100%.
I appreciate it. I don't feel it every day. Something hurts. Maybe so. I don't know. I think there will be a separation probably.
Now, when you
Think
cross
so.
50,
It's right upon. It's in my crosshairs. It's in my crosshairs.
Stay in our age group as long as you can.
yeah, that's
I
right.
wish
That's
I
right.
had control over that.
That's
thing.
right.
I wish I did.
We're going to throw you a farewell party.
I wish I did. I mean,
Farewell.
a retirement party.
He's picking out your coffee.
Oh,
over here.
man.
I got the AARP
Right,
card
all right.
ready.
Wow.
I'm just messing with you,
I don't
dude.
know what I did to you, Ryan.
He
Nothing.
Just, he
I
just
love
said
you,
he was
man.
on your
I
side.
love
I'm just
you, man.
messing,
I
I'm
genuinely
messing.
love all of y'all, man.
AARP.
Come on over to our side now,
we-
Fano. You see what we're dealing with.
See what the young bucks throw at you.
I get picked on all the time. I'm just dishing a little bit. All in love. All in love.
Speaking of getting picked on, Elihu got picked on because he was the
did.
young guy.
He did. Wonder how much younger he was.
I don't
There's so
know.
many
questions, huh?
Yeah. Like a teenager?
See,
That young? Like, how old is Job?
I think we get Job's age later at the
Yeah.
end of the story. It says he lived so many more years. I don't think it
After,
gave his
yeah.
age, but
Gotcha.
it says earlier, it says they were gray haired when he's talking
Yeah.
to his friends. It's like, you guys are gray hair. Because I think maybe the friends were older than he was older than the friends.
Right.
I mean, it had to be one or the other. But
Yeah.
they were talking, they have gray hair and they're up there. So
Gotcha.
maybe they're over 50. They got
Gotcha.
an AARP card. Is that what age you get it? 50 or
55.
55?
I'll soon know.
55.
I'll let you know.
See, I'm not even
Let
giving
you know.
true facts over here. It's just a joke.
Get to skip lines and
I got that from Wikipedia too.
Get those,
Maybe
those
dinner
discounts.
discounts and dinner.
Maybe you just
I
Dinner
don't know. That might
like
be a
a-
good day.
Start eating dinner like at 4:30.
I can go to Hardee's
Matinee
and get
movies.
a discounted breakfast. Deal.
I don't know if you skip lines. They just give you one of those walkers.
Yeah.
Seat. You get to
Just come
sit
on
down in the
yeah,
line.
Yeah. Get
They
to
got-
sit up front.
Yeah.
They got those
They
Disney
feel
fast
sorry for
passes.
you. They feel sorry for you. Let
Get
this
that
guy,
front row parking
let
too.
this guy on through. Let him on through. Let him get his seat. It'll take forever.
Elihu had a seat at this conversation
He did.
eventually, and he finally spoke up.
Good segue.
He did.
A couple of notes. These are maybe not main points, but doing a little bit of research here, I ran across these things. Some scholars or theologians believe Elihu may be the author of the book of Job. They gave
Really?
two names, two of the most prominent names of this group of people. Albert Barnes, who was an American, he lived in 1798 to 1870, author, as well as John Lightfoot, who was an Englishman that lived in the 1600s. They were two of the main proponents that thought Elihu may be the author of this book of Job, which
Interesting.
is why he wasn't mentioned earlier. He kind of
He's busy writing.
He
Taking
kind of
notes.
inserted himself here because he's not mentioned in any of the stories of Job and the three friends. He's also not called out by God later.
That's right.
So he's kind of a character unto himself the way he is inserted here.
Interesting.
That was their main argument of why they think he may be the author.
Interesting.
I had two commentaries. I didn't cite them, but they thought maybe this was a second author of. So Job was written, and then this was pieced in there after the fact.
Yeah.
Huh.
So same argument of if Elihu was the author, he inserted himself into the story
Right.
to get in there. But same kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And Elihu, a descendant of Buz, and who may have been from the line of Abraham. I meant to look that up further, and I did not. But Genesis 22, verse 20 through 21 was the reference for that. I meant to do some more research. I want to say I ran out of time, but I just forgot, to be honest.
22:1.
22, 20, and 21. I think that's just saying that line of Buz, maybe. Or
Of Uz.
Buz, B-U-Z.
So this is a reference.
Yeah,
is
Buz,
Uz.
Buz, his brother. Chapter 20, verse 21. Uz, his firstborn.
Mhm.
Buz, his brother.
There you go.
So
Interesting.
there's just some little side facts I found along the way that's like, I'll bring that up. Why not?
What about the reference to Elihu? What that means?
I missed that one.
Didn't run across that. He is my God is how it's translated.
Interesting. Huh.
Could have give out something there.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice.
Missed the opportunity.
that's why we bring in the heavy hitters like you.
Zach bringing
Oh,
it.
wow.
Zach bringing it.
Had like 3 hours to get caught up.
He did. Yes. Back to the story. Elihu is coming in swinging, basically, but calling out all four people, Job and the three friends, and he's calling them out for different reasons, right? So the three friends, he said, you're not speaking truth, you have no answers, and for Job, he's kind of calling them out for again, not speaking truth and distorting truth. But verse 13, chapter 32, beware lest you say, we have found wisdom, God may vanquish him, not a man. He has not directed his words against me, and I will not answer him with your speeches. So Elihu is saying, all these arguments that you've been giving, I'm not going with those arguments against Job, because everything you guys said is bupkis. So here comes some real truth. Here in these arguments, Elihu is talking about Job and the three friends accusing him, and they are saying they have no answer for him. And verse 20 or verse 16, shall I wait because they do not speak? They stand there and answer no more. So he's saying, you guys have no answer for Job, but I'm still going to go ahead and set you guys straight. Verse 18, for I am full of words. The spirit within me constrains me. So that talking about the constraint, the respect, all that kind of stuff, he gives us an account here. The spirit constrains me while you guys are up here blabbering at each other. I'm holding my tongue back here. But I must speak, verse number 20, I must speak that I may find relief. I'm about to bust. We got
Can't hold it in no more. Let's go.
So that's when he starts bringing the truth against Job and the three friends.
I have a question on that comment. Do you feel like it was all truth or bits and pieces?
For Elihu?
Yeah.
I think Elihu is bringing truth.
Okay.
Because of the way he goes about it. I think we're going to get into that a little bit. And also, I'm trying not to give too much away for next week, but when we get into God's reply, God rebukes everybody except Elihu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You agree? Or you think?
Well, I do not.
Okay.
But I need to save it till the end.
Okay.
Well, you know what? We'll just go ahead and do it now.
Yeah.
Because the commentary that I was reading, I was thinking, I'm just going to read this. It just says, according to Elihu, Job is conceited and arrogant. Job does not fear God. God will not listen to Job. God will not answer Job because God does not listen to the pleas of the wicked. Only if Job would repent, then God would answer him. And so then, the next comment is Elihu was probably more surprised than anyone when God showed up to answer Job.
Right.
And so, but Job did repent at the end, right? Like he knew that he said things.
Yes.
That's so
we're giving a little
teaser there.
Yeah. I don't agree with that comment because Job does repent in the end.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Little thing to look ahead to next week.
And the fifth, man, there's so many ways that we can run down that.
Y'all need the heavy hitters next week to close it out.
Because if Elihu...
we have one if they don't cancel on us.
If Elihu wrote it, would he just not include,
get a pass?
God did
I have questions about
him?
that too.
When, like in
Like
God's,
if he's the author, why would he go in there and
could
make him look bad?
Elihu take it out, not put it in there?
You're saying if Elihu wrote the book of Job,
Correct.
and God admonished Elihu,
that he just omitted.
Elihu could omit that, so he
That's
seems
just going
like
down the road. I mean, I'm just thinking as a
that's
stupid human.
he was a human as well, so
Right.
you're thinking
So
like he would.
Because
Think.
technically he
But
was
yeah.
making himself look bad.
I mean,
Right?
I think most of what he's saying, most of it is truthful, I think. But there are some stuff there's some stuff in there that he says that I don't think is.
I think
I can't say it's all truth.
we're gonna bounce around a little bit.
Yeah.
We've been very straightforward with the rest of the book of Job. I think tonight there may be some bouncing. We're not going chapter 32, 33, 34. There's going to be some bouncing around maybe.
Yeah.
Just because of all these questions and the answers. So let's bounce around a little bit right now.
Okay.
Elihu is different. So Job and the three knuckleheads have been going back and forth accusing each other, right? It's like argument, counter-argument, argument, counter-argument. Elihu is different because he brings evidence against both of them. When he's giving them, when he says, all right, it's my turn to talk. I'm going against you, Job. Here's my argument. I'm going against you three idiots. Here's my argument. So against the three friends, he says, they only have presumption. even when Job asked them for evidence, like chapter 6, verse 24 and 6, verse 28, Job asked the three friends for evidence. Like, let's just read it. Let's go back there.
6 what?
24. So, teach me, this is Job speaking, chapter 6, verse 24. Teach me, and I will be silent. Make me understand how I have gone astray. So he's asking the friends, give me specific examples for what I've done wrong. And also 28, chapter 6, verse 28. But now be pleased to look at me, for I will not lie to your face. If you accuse me of something, I'm going to tell you, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. So that is Job asking for evidence from the three friends, which they never give. And then when Elihu goes against Job, he quotes Job. So he's saying, you said this, Job.
Mm-hmm.
You say whatever. I mean, it's a bunch of references. Chapter 33, 9 through 11. What's that say? So you say, chapter 33, verse number 9. This is Elihu speaking. He's speaking against Job. You say, I am pure without transgression. I am clean, and there is no iniquity in me. He's quoting Job from earlier. So he's sitting here listening to these conversations, and there's a bunch of them. 13, verse 13. Why do you contest against him, saying he will answer none of man's words? So he's bringing, that is something Job had said earlier. Why do you contest against God? So Elihu is asking Job, why do you contend against God, saying he will answer none of man's words? And there's, 34, 5 through 6, 35, 2 and 3, 36, verse 23. Lots of examples of Elihu just quoting Job and saying, you said this, Job. Where's your answer now? So he's bringing different arguments than what the others have brought. And Job, every time one of the three friends made an argument, Job had a counter argument. But when Elihu rebukes Job, Job says nothing. And he gives him multiple chances to say, am I wrong?
I guess I took that as I've already tried to convince these three. Like I don't want to have this argument anymore, and I'm kind of checked out. But I could see where say something, say something.
So at the end of at the end of chapter 33, this is still Elihu speaking to Job, verse number 32. If you have any words, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, listen to me, be silent, and I will teach you wisdom. So Elihu asked Job, give me an answer. Am I wrong? Am I saying something wrong against you? Because Elihu is trying to justify Job. He's trying to prove Job in the right. Mm-hmm. But Job has no answers to give him. He sits there in silence, which is not his way, because we talked about last week, Job was elevated a kingly status. When he spoke in public, everyone else shut up and listened. And whatever he said, there was no that's what they did. But for him to get attacked, and attacked is not the right word, rebuked this way, and to have no reply, I think he knows.
But if Elihu was there the whole time.
Hold on, how did you say that?
Elihu? Elihu?
I just wanted to hear you
whatever.
say it.
To go against like what y'all's argument is that he was there the whole time or whatever, then he's basing it off of that though, because he's saying to me, I'm hearing Job saying like I have nothing to say. You've listened to me argue this whole entire time. What else could I say differently to you now?
Which is very similar to somebody else in the Bible, right? I mean, when Christ is getting just blasted and, why don't you prophesy? Why don't you do something? Why don't you come down off of there? And so I know that saying nothing could also be very powerful too.
Yeah.
And not to say that that's the same line here, but, I feel like with all the argument that's going back and forth, he would have said something. I feel like he would have said something, but
maybe this is the last rock I have to throw at this argument.
You only got one sheet of paper, so be careful.
Yeah, or both sides, man. I'm two-sided. So the three friends that are talking with Job, they had 3 speeches each, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Eliphaz had 3, Bildad had 3, Zophar had 2 speeches each. Job had 8 speeches in response to those 3 guys. So he's countering point for point, argument for argument. Elihu has 4 speeches. It's all together, but it's basically 4 separate speeches that he gives.
Mm-hmm.
And through those 4 speeches, Job had 0 reply.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if Job had something to say, he would have said it, because that's been his MO this entire time.
Unless, like Fano said, Elihu cut it out.
Making himself look a little better.
I'm going to chop it out of here.
Chop this out.
That wasn't important. We don't need that.
If I'm going to look bad at the end, let's go ahead and make myself look good.
If I'm going to write this, it's going to be about me.
Save your right hand over there. We're low on ink.
Yeah.
He might have had a writer's block or something. What is it? Writer's block? No.
That is just question, just reading through and looking through just Job's response, unless he just, had a way of knowing that God was coming.
I mean, it was a different tactic, right? The other 3 friends, I had a note that kind of summed it up good. But, the other 3 friends were accusing Job, and they were saying, you're doing something in secret that we don't know about, and that's why you are being punished. Elihu just used Job's own words against him. He's like, you've said this against God since this started. We're not talking about what you did before you were afflicted. We're talking about right now when you sit down and speak to whoever's listening. It's at least 4 people, but whoever is listening, now you're sinning against God by what you say now. Yeah. Not what you did when you had the world handed to you. It's everything since then. You've sinned against God in that moment.
Yeah.
Because even in the story at the beginning, chapter 1, chapter 2, it's when it's saying, Job did not sin in this and what he said in this. That was from that moment back. It wasn't from that moment going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was Elihu just used Job's own word. He didn't say, I think you're doing something in secret.
Right.
Because God is punishing you, you got to be doing something. That was the argument of the other 3. Elihu just said,
because of what you have said.
Here's what you said. Job, you just said this, Job. Mm-hmm. That's wrong. You just said this. That's wrong. It's different arguments.
And it could be, maybe Job's silence is that, Job was a pretty powerful man as well, and he's having essentially somebody drastically younger than him trying to call him out, and he might just be writing it off, being like, who are you to
tell me?
Who are you to tell me?
You're not
even worth the response or something like that. He might be taking that attitude. It's just tough to say. But
I think some of the responses from Elihu were, I don't know how to take them, because he says in there several times that Job, you're not listening. That's why God's not answering. Mm-hmm. But he does at the end, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's where I was going with the whole truth versus pieces of him being another friend, just throwing stones at him over here. But I can see where the words, like what you said, Daniel, of like, hey, this is all the things that you have said, and I'm telling what you said, and those were wrong.
Right.
And so I can see the truth in that too.
Mm.
Yeah. So this was the way it summed up. Eliphaz, Zophar, and Bildad said that before Job started suffering, you must have sinned.
Mm-hmm.
Elihu comes in and says, since you began suffering, you have sinned.
By saying these things.
These things.
Yep. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Basically, one is accusation, one is fact. Right?
They're guessing.
They're accusing him of doing. You had to have done something to get what you got, and he's saying, "This is what I've seen you do. It's a fact. You've done this. This is why it's this is why it's happening."
Maybe kind of adding on to some of this. This is chapter 35. Elihu is still condemning Job, but
the third speech, right? 35.
This would be the third speech. Chapter 35, verse 13. Surely God does not hear an empty cry, nor does the Almighty regard it. How much less when you say you do not see him, that the case is before him and you are waiting for him. And now, because his anger does not punish, he does not take note of transgression. He does not take much note of transgression. Verse 16, this is the hammer. Mm-hmm. Job opens his mouth in empty talk. He multiplies words without knowledge. So that was another thing counted against Job by Elihu, that he had empty talk. He was speaking without knowledge, because the whole thing was, these four guys, the three friends and Job, are going back and forth at each other of who has the most knowledge and who has the correct knowledge. And Elihu comes up and says, pretty much all of you are without knowledge. You're all speaking hollow, empty words. This one is directed at Job, but basically the same argument against all of them, that you're just speaking empty talk.
So the commentary I have says that Elihu is in the wrong in this, right? He uses the same verse. He says, Elihu concludes that Job speaks words without knowledge, but the ignorance of Elihu perceives is Job's mistaken notion that God would actually listen to Job's arrogant cries for relief. And we know that he does hear his cries of his people. And so I think they're both in the wrong. Like, what I gather out of that, that Elihu doesn't fully understand that God is with Job in all this, is how I take that. But
well, yes, and this is where it's kind of hard, because I'm cheating and I know what comes next,
right?
Yeah. And God makes the same argument as Elihu. Basically, he quotes the same word, he uses the same phrases. We're going to try and save that, but.
Don't get to 39.
It's kind of hard to do all that, but yeah, that's echoed later.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, in the moment, we've been doing that this whole study, breaking things down into smaller sections to see in the moment what are they thinking and feeling, and then how does that relate to the overall story, the bigger story. But
I mean, we do that as humans, right? We sit here and make our argument, then we go home and ponder, research, and then bring it back, and then you might have to eat some humble pie, right? Like, it's, I don't know that they had that back then. They didn't have Ryan's Wikipedia over here.
No, they didn't.
I think because, like in Job's final reply before Elihu.
We got another translation.
That's the third one. That's a new one.
Elihu?
I say Eli, like Eli, E-L-I.
Elihu.
Do I need
that's a lot, but
I'll just put it in
let it run?
Yeah, put it up to the microphone there. Let's see what the Bible app says.
And Elihu answered and said,
Elihu, which is what I said in the beginning. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I can't remember what I said.
We'll play it back. We'll play it back.
Elihu.
Both of them kind of, in Job's and then the last part of verse 36, they both start speaking about like nature, like God's, and in the 37 as well, like God's power over nature. I thought that was kind of neat that both Job and he kind of do the same thing.
Carry that out some more. So he's talking about God's majesty, the rumbling that comes, thunder of his voice, rumbling comes from God's mouth. Thunder wondrously with his voice, seals up the hand of every man, that all men whom he made may know it. Mm-hmm. And then it goes down, chapter 37, verse 14, and there's some other examples given between there, but 37:14, hear this, O Job, stop and consider the wondrous works of God. So he's wrapping up all those things, like Job had talked about, the stars and the moon and all this, and gave a lot of earthly examples. Elihu, same thing, giving all these earthly examples, but tying them into God. The thunder is from God. It's
rain.
You hear thunder in his voice, the rain, man, God made man and filled his hand, all this stuff. The breath of God, by the breath of God, ice is given, all these different things. But he said, Job, just stop and consider all these things are the wondrous works of God. Yeah. And God lays his command upon them and causes the lightning of his cloud to shine. Do you know the balancing This is changing the argument a little bit. So Elihu used Job's words against him, said, you said this, you said that, kind of defend yourself because this is sinful, what you have said. And now he's changing the argument to, God is so good and we are not on the same level of God. Here's all the examples of what God has done. Just stop and consider how great he is and all the wonderful things he's done. And you'll see we are not on the same level. You have no right to question God. So he goes into all, chapter 37, verse 15 through 19 is just a big argument of all the things God has done. Verse 16, do you know the balancing of the clouds? I mean, just right there. I mean, argument over. You don't need to say any more, right? We can't touch that. But he keeps going a little bit. Can you, like him, spread out the sky, hard as a cast metal mirror? Teach us what we shall say to him. We cannot draw up our case because of darkness. Out of the north comes golden splendor, the Almighty. We cannot find him. I'm skipping ahead to 22, 23. 24, therefore men fear him. He does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit. So, therefore, men fear him. God does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit. Pretty much, we cannot stack up against God, and he will, if you think you know everything, he's kind of he can ignore you, and it doesn't mean nothing. Like, he is unchanging. And that's actually where, that's the last part of Elihu's argument right there before God comes back and speak. But I mean, that's a big summation right there of whatever you think you got, it doesn't stack up. We're going to back up and break some more of that down a little bit. But
I thought it was interesting in that last, in 36:4, Elihu claims, integrity, perfect in knowledge, and he uses the same words that describe Job as Job 1:1, as blameless. And so, like, if you think that Job was blameless to start this, and now you're saying he's not, like, where did it get off the tracks there? Because if you knew that at the beginning and you're quoting 1:1, do you not think he's blameless now? And obviously not, right? You're saying, hey, you've made these words against God, and I think about our lives, right? Could those words lead somebody away from the gospel? Like, does Zach's walk hinder somebody else's walk? And I wonder if that's what Elihu. Now I done said something else.
Elihu.
I feel responsible for that, Zach.
I'm saying, hey, if I was just sitting here hearing how bad you've talked about your friends or God done in your life, are you any different than me? And because he knows he started blameless, but maybe not how he ended.
And I mean, Elihu says he thinks Job has sinned from the moment of his affliction onward. But 36:7, he does not withdraw his eyes from the righteous. God does not withdraw his eyes from the righteous. So you can be righteous and still sinful, which all people are sinful, but God still is not taking his eyes off of you. You may not be following him or choosing to follow him, praise him, live the way you know you should live according to his ways, but his eyes are still on you, whatever you choose.
I think the message in that is you've got to repent, right? Like you can go through the world, wicked ways and you're not going to prosper, but if you repent, it's going to be forgiven at that point versus just continuing to live on those sinful ways.
15 through 17 is really, that stuck out to me. I had a note in my notes about it. It says, God rescues the afflicted by their affliction. He instructs them by their torment. Indeed, he lured you from the jaws of distress to a spacious and unconfined place. Your table was spread with choice food. Yet now you're obsessed with the judgment due the wicked. Judgment and justice have seized you. So that goes to kind of when Job was afflicted, what he's done, and that's what Elihu is saying that he's sinned since that time, or just been disrespectful, I guess, to God. In
this argument, Elihu is talking about how great God is and his power. And so that is what he's doing there with the verses final read. And then he continues on, verse 22, behold, God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has prescribed for him his way? Or who can say, you have done wrong? 26, behold, God is great, and we know him not. The number of his years is unsearchable. Can anyone understand the spreading of the clouds?
I think this is how it ends, right? It's going to end with faith, right? There's a lot of things that we can't explain, and he's going to find out.
Yeah, and Elihu is just,
Absolutely.
Job has questioned God a lot. And how come you don't answer me? And where's my accuser?
What have I done?
What
Show me evidence.
If I was in a court, who's going to arbitrate for us? And Elihu is saying, you are not even close to being on the same plane as God.
Right.
And being able to,
Who are you to question?
who you are nowhere near putting yourself in the same courtroom as God.
Right.
So you need to realize how great he is, how big he is, how small you are.
Wrote down, God is so great that he doesn't have to answer. He doesn't owe you an answer. He doesn't owe Job an answer for anything that he does.
And
He does.
Back to the cross, right? Just
Yeah.
I don't owe you nothing.
Yeah.
and
But I still do it.
Elihu never really rebukes Job. The other three friends, they were rebuking him pretty strong. I mean, we used what's the word we used a lot? Accusatory and all kinds of words like that we've used a lot in this study. Elihu never really condemns Job like that. He uses his own words against him. He said, but he doesn't accuse him like the other friends did.
Just so interesting. We never hear from him again, or
yeah.
before. Like he just
Sneaks in, sneaks out.
Yeah.
He's like a mist. He drops in and drops out in a hurry.
Drop these 5 verses. And then
He's
4 or
like
5
a
verses, and then I'm out.
G.I. Joe over here.
I'm tired of waiting. Tired of waiting my turn. Made me go last. Just because I'm young.
I
I was holding a grudge to young people, Ryan.
As he comes and looks like looking at me.
There you go. Yeah. Looking over at you, Ron.
Dude, I was walking through the town square just getting a corn dog and heard you 4 knuckleheads over here arguing. I had to sit down
Didn't
and
have to
listen
wait.
for a second. And,
They had corn dogs?
man, this
Food's all cold.
But Elihu and the 3 friends all come to the same conclusion that Job has sinned. But they don't really mean the same thing in their arguments. Like we talked about, the group of friends being accusatory, Elihu not really, but still saying, Job, you've done wrong. Just how they get there was different. But
Well, the 3 friends are, it's kind of like what Ron said earlier. Like you must have done something,
right.
and whereas he's saying you have done these things, you have said these words, different, but it's hard to hear Elihu talking to this guy and just talking to Job and talking to him so bad, and then referencing that, hey, you were once blameless,
And I really think chapter 37, verse 24 really sums it up. I mean, it's pretty much Elihu's entire argument summed up in one sentence. Therefore, men fear him, men fear God. He does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit. God does not regard any. He's pretty much that you guys are big deals in your own mind. You ain't a big deal in God's mind.
That's right.
Random question. Wouldn't him need to be capitalized right there? Because they're talking about him? Normally in the Bible, that's what it is, right?
You
I
want it
don't
to be
have an answer for that.
You want it to be red letter too?
No, God's not speaking, so it's not read.
It's the same in verse 23 too, when he says the Almighty, we cannot reach him.
I mean, we know that's what they're talking about, but I mean, that's what I've always seen.
That
That
I'm
threw
not
me
trying
off.
to dismiss. That is a good question. I have no answer to why
Okay.
it is not.
Sorry.
Did you contact the Bible out from GPS to God and say, hey, we have
Well, I mean,
questions?
is it capitalized for y'all or no?
It is not.
It is not.
It is
Okay.
not.
So just to sum it up a little bit, I had this written down, so I might as well say it. Elihu's 4 speeches. The first one, God has not been silent. He speaks through your pain.
I had a different one for that.
What's yours say?
Mine says, Job is self-righteous and God disciplines such.
So, I mean, if Ty Dean was here, he would say, God is the one punishing Job,
Yep.
right? But God is speaking through that punishment, speaking through that pain.
Keep going.
All right. Speech number 2, God is not unjust. He will eventually strike the wicked.
Job deserves suffering and God is just.
Man, this guy he's got a mean streak in him.
Yeah.
But that was one of Job's big arguments of, look at all these unjust people who are doing all these terrible
doing
things.
nothing to them.
Right.
And they are living the good life.
They're up on cloud 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, so God is not unjust. Your timing is not his timing, basically.
Yeah.
He will eventually strike them. All right, speech number 3. Righteous living is not pointless, though we are insignificant next to God.
Job is wicked and God is transcendent.
And finally, you're in no place to criticize God. Remember to fear him.
Job must listen and God is active.
Good stuff.
So this was a little different chapter, but it was a little different chapter in the book of Job. So we, a little bit of bouncing around and not quite, but I think the conversation, the thoughts, the questions, they're all hitting heavy on this one.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed y'all having me for these 4 or whatever I've sat in on.
been
That's
good.
maybe do a deeper dive. I think I could talk high level of Job before, and now maybe I've retained a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that is the words of many people right there. We hope everyone who's listened to this study has gotten a deeper understanding and asked questions, maybe found answers to questions, all that kind of stuff. And we still have questions we don't have answers to, and some questions we won't know the answers to, but that's okay. That's good stuff. And next week, we wrap it all up. God himself, we've already hinted at some of the stuff that is going to come up, but there's more. And Zach, keep your phone on, man. If we get canceled, you get another phone call 3 hours in advance.
I think I know who y'all asked, so I think I might be on childcare duty, so I'll make sure she's here.
Well,
Basically just calling her out right there. I mean,
I'm
might
not
as well
saying
said stuff, but
not saying, but I'm saying she's.
the heavy hitters are on deck.
There we go. Y'all have done scraping the bottom of the barrel. Y'all found the real people.
when does this come out?
Started at the bottom, now we're here.
There you go.
This will come out after we record the next episode. So
All right, Drake.
this is Zach is safe.
I'm safe.
If said person shows up, Zach is safe.
Yeah.
I got a week reprieve. I got a birthday next week, so maybe I'll buy me some time.
It's your birthday. Yeah, believe it or not, I don't know when I did this or that. Your birthday is written down in my calendar.
Special people right here. Because they're Cinco de
Might be a
Mayo.
little extreme. A little extreme.
It had to get there for a reason. I'm not sure how or why, but it is there. So, even though you didn't bring M&Ms to the show, I got you.
Okay.
Both
Written
y'all's
down.
birthdays are in my calendar. They just don't have your name next to it.
Yeah, but you
One says
probably just
Cinco de
get
Mayo, one says Halloween.
May the 4th be with you is how I remember mine.
Well, we hope that God is with you, and to take him with you a little bit closer, we're going to read a Bible verse to close out the
Absolutely.
episode. Today, we're going to go from the book of Ephesians. This kind of ties in a little bit. Funny how the Bible does that from front to back, continues to tie into itself. Book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse number 8. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God.
Free
So-
gift.
We may be conceited. We may think we got big thoughts and we're a big deal, but we're nowhere close to God. We're not on his level, but he still gives us a very free gift and calls us an heir in his family. What else you need? Man, some would say that'll preach.
Yeah. Free gift. You just got to take it.
There you go. That's what free means. So this is free. You're welcome. Guess what? There's another free one coming next week. Make sure you stop on by and check that one out because we wrap up the book of Job. So don't miss the exciting conclusion. You already know. We love you. God loves you more. Check us out next week. We'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening to GPS to God. Make sure you leave a rating or review on whichever app you happen to use. Also, find us on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to our channel.